Stocks, bonds, ETFs, straight out of downtown Chicago. This is Zach's Market Edge.
Welcome to Zach's Market Edge, the podcast about investing in your life. I'm your host, Tracy Reinick, and this week I'm joined by two of my Zach's colleagues, Maddie Johnson, who is the Zach's editor, and Domina Tingos, who's director of product development and AKA a shopper. We're all shoppers here because today we're going to discuss the state of retail, which we have discussed in the past, but today specifically about whether or not brick and mortar is dead. If we're never going to go to these shops again, they're all going to shut down. Bye-bye Macy's, JCPenney, all these places. We're just going to order off Amazon and the drones will deliver everything. That's the future. Sounds exciting, but is that really what's going to happen? So welcome to both of you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Tracy.
They've both been on before. Domina, you were on the very first podcast.
I was. It was such a great pleasure.
Yeah, and now you're back. Not about Greece this time, but we should have you back on about Greece.
I'd love to.
Are you going there again this year?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, good. You can give us the play-by-play when you get back. 'Cause
Sure.
that's kind of an unknown story, the Greece thing. Like, everyone's forgotten about it again, but I have a feeling we really shouldn't.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So, okay, good. We'll have you back on for that. But we are discussing the shopping today. And, you know, we've heard from a lot of the retailers from the first quarter, and some of it was not good. Like the Macy's numbers were not good. JCPenney, maybe a little bit better, but still not that great. Kohl's not that great. These big department stores, not good. And then I keep hearing all over StockTwits, retail is dead every time, retailers about to report, no, Amazon's going to take away all their business. But then that didn't happen for several of them, the Ultas of the world. So, it is this interesting question. Do you need the brick and mortar stores? Are those going to go away? Is it a combination of things that we're going to see going forward? And who's going to win in all of this? I don't know. One of the things I thought was really interesting about JCPenney, and I actually fought with people on StockTwits about JCPenney. I haven't even been to a JCPenney for a while. I guess that's bad because I actually kind of like JCPenney. They're all shaking their head. Domina, have you been in a JCPenney recently?
I don't think I've stepped foot in one or even gone on their website in probably over a decade.
Wow. What about you, Maddie?
The last time I was in a JCPenney, it was to get into the actual mall.
Okay.
So I
walked
zoomed
through
it,
one.
Just zoomed through it.
Okay. We all live in the city of Chicago. And is there even one in the city limits? I don't think so. I think we have to go to the inner suburbs to even go to one. So in our defense, there is not one in the city. But I have actually been on their website because I do order some stuff off their website occasionally. But the interesting thing about JCPenney is it wasn't as bad as you might think. Even though everyone's saying the mall is dead, because their experiences are doing well. Like they have, someone tweeted this at me, that they use that photo store that's in there because they do have really good packages for like family photos and all that. I know my sisters-in-law have taken the kids over there. So they're luring people in with these other things. They have beauty salons in there, kind of like Ulta does. Mm-hmm. And then they have the Sephoras. That is their huge thing. They just celebrated 10 years with Sephora. And they have them in 500 of their stores now. They're opening up another 60. And for those who don't know, Sephora is like Ulta. It's maybe, what would you class as, Maddie? Like maybe slightly higher end?
Yes, I think it carries more designer makeup brands.
Yeah,
like
that's how I always.
The makeup brands you would go to a department store. You would have to go to a department store to buy.
Yeah, I always thought this was kind of a weird union between JCPenney, which was in the malls, and then this kind of little bit more upscale. I just felt like Ulta should have gotten in there, but then they never did. But Sephora, it is working for them because this, again, is luring people into the store. You're getting makeovers. You're having experiences in the store. So is this what could save retailers?
I think so. I mean, I think brick and mortar stores, they fulfill a specific need for consumers. Like, for example, when I go jean shopping, I hate shopping for jeans, but I don't want to just order them online, get them at home, try them on, and only have my opinion in my terrible mirror to tell me what they look like on my body. So I want to go into a Nordstrom, get a sales associate to help me with jeans, with jean trends, give me opinions, advice, and then I walk out the door knowing I just bought 3 pairs of jeans that look good. So I think that's something that it fulfills a need that you that consumers still have, and an Amazon or any online retailer really can't take that away.
So it's both a service, but also kind of a feeling thing. Is that
Yeah,
it's like
like
an
it makes you
emotion?
feel good. Like you want someone to be like, "Hey, you look good in those jeans.
Yeah.
You should get them." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll spend $200 now." Something that I maybe would not have done online.
Right.
Right.
Plus Nordstrom's offers all those other services like, oh, do you need these hemmed? We can do that
Exactly.
for you.
Yeah.
And
Free
things,
alterations.
yeah, that you might not obviously also get online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how does that translate though to some of these like a Kohl's or whatever? Are you going into a Kohl's to try on all the jeans? And there's no salesperson in the Kohl's dressing rooms that I've ever seen.
I think this goes back to experience that you both have brought up, the tactile experience of seeing sort of high quality goods versus shopping for them online. And in fact, just doing some quick research, 1 in 20 would make a purchase when browsing a store online, but 1 in 5 when browsing the physical store. And I think that's really key. I'll look online for days if I have a special event and I need to buy something nice. But in a store, I'll go that day and I will purchase it. And so I think it's the omni-channel, right? Having a good online presence, but also having the brick and mortar. And I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but people spend much more per purchase in the actual store versus online. And so I think just for companies that are just online, it's a great, easy way to enter the market. Low barriers to entry, costs of, creating a website and e-commerce is much lower. But translating that into really market share, you need to have a brick and mortar store. Amazon is a unique case. They were really first to market, if you think about it. And so they've really tipped the scale in terms of market share, and it's harder to compete with them. But for specialized products, right? Because I think product offering as a product development person is also different, right? The product offering at Kohl's or JCPenney is very different than the product offering at a Macy's or a Nordstrom or Bloomingdale's and those types of companies where the sort of probably the average, ticket price is much higher. So I sort of see that as sort of two different areas, right? Higher priced goods versus lower priced goods.
What about something like an Ulta then? How are they succeeding? Because they keep opening up stores and they're opening up another 100 stores this year. So they're not slowing down that. And they do have a big online presence too. And that business has been growing. But I could buy that hand cream on Amazon. Usually, not always, because they do have some exclusive products, like you were just commenting about, things you can't get certain places. But for like the basics, the Maybelline cosmetics or something like that, I can buy that on Amazon versus Ulta. So, Ulta has that great rewards program. Is it that's putting them in a different category? That they are offering something else?
I think you have to think about your customer journey. When you go to Ulta, at least for me, I'm never going to buy sort of makeup or any cosmetics or even shampoo before I need it. I always like, oh no, I just ran out, so I need it tomorrow. I can't, even if Amazon delivers in a day, I could literally leave the office and go to a multitude of brick and mortar stores and pick it up.
Right.
And if I'm going to try something new, right? It's summer, you're a little bit tanner, you need a different color.
Right.
You go to the store because you want to try it. You can't try things online. And even with sort of e-commerce, a lot of things don't look the same in real life. The colors, they just haven't done a really fantastic job yet with that. And so in the makeup world, this is actually a huge thing for sort of makeup bloggers, trying to find the exact color of a lipstick, for example, on Amazon or some website versus going into the store and trying it. They many times look very different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So more commoditized things, like if you need toilet paper and you know which kind you buy, maybe you order it from Amazon.
Right.
It's very easy. There's not a lot of product differentiation. But I think in areas where there's a ton of product differentiation, the brick and mortar stores will never go completely under.
Either of you two ever heard of the business Birchbox, where they send you the little samples? They're both nodding. Have you ever tried it?
No.
No, me neither. Okay. I just read an article. They've been around a couple of years. So they send out these sample products to you and then you can buy it. You try them out. And don't you keep certain ones you like or something like that? I forget how it works, but they're samples that are sent to you. But they just launched a brick and mortar store. I thought it was very interesting. I saw an article about it and I was like, what? I thought they were solely exclusively online and you get it in the mail and that was going to be their big selling point. But Domina, they learned what you were just mentioning, that if you actually go in the store, you end up buying more. So while they still have the mail and they still mail out the boxes, the stores are becoming more important to them. So I saw that as kind of a sign for all these doom and gloomers out there who think that all of retail is going to go away.
Are they offering full
I think they have
product
some full
sizes?
stuff. I think
So,
so.
or is it just like a store of sample sizes?
I don't know. I didn't delve
interesting.
in. Yeah, but they have opened up one.
Yeah, but then you also look, kind of circling back to Amazon, how they're now opening up physical brick and mortar bookstores.
Oh, that's right. That
Um,
was shocking.
Yeah, and how successful they turned out to be, and how people are flocking to them, and like, oh, here's a company that revolutionized the way we shopped as a whole, but also how we buy books, and then kind of bringing it back full circle, which I think is really interesting.
What does that say about retail in general when everybody, when these naysayers are saying, oh, all of the brick and mortar is going to go away and we'll just order it from our phone or our computers? Like, isn't there another component to retail that is the emotional component? Like I used to say about the anthropology stores, I will admit this, even though it's kind of embarrassing, that I wanted to live in one because they're so neat. Like the
Beautiful.
design is awesome. And when I was like really depressed during the polar vortex winters, there's one not that far from where I live. I would go like up there through the snow and just go in and look around. I guess it's bad I never bought anything, but I would just go in there because it was just so pretty in there. And that is like, to me, the emotional component of the retail experience.
Yeah, I like to go to a brick and mortar store if I have like a special event. So I will shop online before, browse, get depressed because I can't find anything that would work. But then I go into a store, I find a salesperson, and they like, if you get the right salesperson, they'll understand and they get you. And then it's like this job has become much less of a burden, and it's just like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. Because sometimes finding an outfit for an event is like all consuming and
Yeah.
will just create this whole different level of stress you didn't realize that could ever happen.
Yeah. What about Macy's? They've been struggling. I like the Macy's, but I live here in Chicago, which has one of the big flagship ones right downtown on State Street. That's the second largest Macy's, I think, in the United States after the Manhattan one. It's a beautiful building. Used to be our Marshall Fields.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. But they offer food on a couple different levels. They have the Walnut Room restaurant. They have interesting and unique items on various of the levels. So every time I go in there, I'm like, how can Macy's be struggling? This store is amazing. But then I forget that there's like suburban Macy's that don't really look like that downtown one. So does Macy's need to take what they're doing right, like at these big flagship stores, and somehow sell it out in their more mall locations? Or do they need to just shrink down and focus on these urban stores?
Macy's is hard to say. I think that from a brand sort of reputation, Marshall Fields had a stronger brand, at least in our local
Chicago.
area. And now the Macy's, at least the suburban ones, their product offering, again, is a little bit skewing towards the lower end of the market, where Marshall Fields used to be the opposite.
Yeah.
And so they're having a hard time sort of finding their niche. Where the State Street flagship store has every brand you can imagine and very upscale. They have the bridal salon and a bunch of other things that appeal to higher end consumers. So I think suburban Macy's is sort of competing with the J.C. Penney's and Kohl's. And then these flagship stores are competing with higher end, and they're not really they're having an identity crisis, in my opinion. So I think they need to figure out their strategy there.
I mean, I think it could work in maybe higher end suburbs. Having a walnut room, having salons, having restaurants. But when you go farther out, away from like an urban center, it's hard because the cost of living goes down, but then people won't be able to afford the product that they put in the stores. So I think it definitely have to cater it to the customer, but it could work in more wealthy suburbs.
Now, what about the revolution of online just shopping in general and how it influences these retailers? Because I remember back in the day, I had some cousins who grew up in downstate Illinois, and literally every like prom season or, when they were in high school, they had to drive all the way up to Chicago in order to shop in some normal, what I consider to be normal stores, because they just didn't have, they didn't even have like a Banana Republic or any of that stuff was down where they lived. But now you could order online and have it shipped to you. So I feel like instead of saying brick and mortar is dead and then all these retailers are going to die along with it, this opens up like a huge new opportunity. Or even for someone like a Lululemon that is just in a very small urban markets. If I was in, again, downstate Illinois, there aren't any down there. But now I can actually access it, have it shipped to my house, and I can wear the same yoga pants. I feel like this is an untapped area that's not really being addressed.
Have either of you heard of Rent the Runway?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Have you done it?
no, because it was one of those times where I was looking and I had found a dress, but then I ended up going to a J. Crew and ended up buying an outfit there.
Okay.
But I think that they hold a really interesting piece of the market because you can go on there, order 3 dresses in 2 sizes each for prom, let's say, have them delivered to you, have like a whole tryout session in the comfort of your own home. So I think that will be an interesting company to watch as they grow in the coming years.
Are they out of Manhattan? I'm assuming kind of they are.
I think so, but they do have a flagship they have a base brick and mortar store in downtown Chicago.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Right
I
off
didn't know that
Michigan.
either.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's something to keep in mind.
Sorry, just to change gears a little bit, but you mentioned the naysayers. And
Yeah.
I think that the reason we're so skewed towards this e-commerce is the growth rates are 17%, where they're only 3.5% in brick and mortar. But that actually translates to $38 billion being spent in e-commerce versus $144 billion in brick and
Wow.
mortar. So if you're a retailer, yes, the growth is in e-commerce, but if I'm growing from 1 to 2, right,
Yeah.
I doubled. But if
That's
I
right.
grow from 10 million to 15 million, I mean, that's a little bit more interesting story. So I think that that all these channels need to work together. I don't imagine brick and mortar ever dying, especially in our culture, right, in the United States. Shopping and going to malls, particularly in the suburbs, it's not just about buying things, but it's something to do.
It's an event.
It's an event, right? And that will never. The restaurants are anchored around the malls. It's a whole family experience, and imagining that just going away just seems completely.
What would we
crazy.
do?
I don't know.
And what would happen to Mall of America? That's like
I
a
don't
staple
know.
of the country.
Yeah.
What would your high schoolers do on a Saturday? I have
I
no
don't
idea.
know, because my niece is in high school. She definitely still goes to the mall. So I don't believe this whole thing about the malls are dying. I just don't. One other thing, too, that I noticed, JCPenney, going back to them, appliances were really hot for them. And they opened these appliance showcases in about 20 stores, and it worked so well, they're going to open it in 500 stores, and they're going to sell them online. So this is the joint thing, because once you kind of know what washing machine you want, you don't need to go look at it again. You can just order it online. But I thought that was really interesting that they're allocating all this space separately to appliances, and they're also going to put 25% of store space. I wrote this down because it's kind of complicated, to enhance the presentation of their ready-made curtains, blinds, shades, and decorative hardware. So anything with the home also appears to be something you can look at it online and kind of get an idea, oh, they have this or they have that, but you really want to go to the store and look at it in person, I feel.
Yeah. Well, you think of a huge company in IKEA and their huge stores where they showcase living rooms and bedrooms and bathrooms and kitchens, and they tell you this is what you need, this is what you can buy, and this is what you can do with
I
your
love
home.
that. Have you ever gone in there and just like looked around at those little,
Oh,
the ones
yeah.
where they're like, this whole apartment's only 500 square feet. And
Right.
it's like amazing when you walk in there, you're like, how did they do this?
So I think that's an avenue JCPenney can go down and really capitalize on people's desire to upgrade their home and their life through appliances.
Now that I think about it, IKEA is one of the leaders in making it an experience type of shopping because they do have that restaurant in there with those good Swedish meatballs. Yes, I've eaten those. And then, they got the Cinnabons and all that stuff. Even as you're leaving the store, you can get a hot dog or whatever and all the other Swedish goodies. And, and then you do just lay around on the couches and all this other stuff while you're in there. So yeah, IKEA, I guess we could take a page from them. Nobody's talking about how they're going to die.
Right. I mean, I
Nobody.
can't imagine, you're not going to buy sofas and rugs and throw pillows online
Exclusively. No.
You see them and then you say, oh, that would look great in our house. Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah. And then you might go order it online. Because I have noticed West Elm, about 50% of their revenue is done online, which is kind of interesting that they don't sell only furniture. So you could buy the bedding or, some of their plates and some of that other stuff online too. But I do think people go to the store, look at it, and then just go online and order it that way.
Yeah, I believe that's true. Because
Yeah.
if you look in marketing trends, this sort of onboarding of offline and online data on consumers is becoming really critical. So they can say, you got the email, you searched online, but you went into the store to buy, or vice versa. You went to the store on Tuesday and you purchased on Thursday. And so this is a huge part of marketing tech. And so obviously there's a lot of value in your behavior, both online and in store.
Yeah. What do you think about catalogs? Just one other thing, even though that could be a whole totally different topic, but like they're still making catalogs, but there's this thing, isn't Victoria's Secret now going to get rid of its catalog allegedly? That's what I heard. They might get rid of theirs, but I'm still getting them from like Athleta sends me one. The J. Crew still sends me one.
I get ones from Anthropologie.
Those people collect those.
Well, they're beautiful,
Yeah.
just like the stores.
I know.
Restoration Hardware has some really beautiful
yeah,
the
ones
source
as well.
books.
Pottery Barn as well.
Yeah, so I guess that is sticking around too. It sounds like I like getting them.
Well, it's kind of like that showcase thing that
Yeah.
JCPenney is trying
It's
and
the
IKEA
dream.
has excelled at. It's like, oh, this is my dream house. This is my dream wardrobe.
Yeah.
It's nice to see it in action and on like a body.
Right. No, good point. So as we're wrapping up here, what are your favorite retailers right now? They could be any kind of retail. Do you have any, Domino? Like, what's your favorite?
I really love Bloomingdale's.
Okay, so that's the owned by Macy's.
Right. They just have a little bit more variety in terms of the brands they bring. I do have one that I don't think there's any flagship store at all, revolveclothing.com.
Okay.
They're only online, but they carry sort of exclusive brands you don't find often. And I do shop at J. Crew quite a bit. And I have to say their catalog does prompt me to go online.
Okay.
And then if there's an extreme sale, I will shop online, but otherwise I will go to the store. So all of those, again, the omni-channel, right? The catalog, the e-commerce, and the brick and mortar work together in sort of my buying decision.
What do you think about J. Crew right now? Just on an aside, because they've been struggling too in this whole apparel struggle that's been going on with people like off trend and everything. And then they've kind of gotten a little bit away from their mandate, I guess you could say. And they said like the sweaters were a disaster the last couple of years and all of that. But do you think that they're turning it around?
I think the way they style, sort of back to Maddie's point, like your ideal wardrobe, the way they style things in the catalog online are really, really nice. But when you walk into the store, they haven't translated into fitting those looks together. I don't imagine them totally going away because they seem like kind of a staple in various age groups' wardrobes. I know people that are much younger and much older that shop there. But again, sort of dialing in a lot of this, right, is their marketing spend. Who are they targeting and what is that goal? So I think that they'll turn it around.
Okay, that's good. What about you, Maddie? What's your favorite?
J. Crew is one of my favorites as well.
2 for the Crew.
I love Nordstrom. I prefer it over Bloomingdale's. I don't know why, but I think once I like crossed the threshold of luxury department stores, Nordstrom was the first one I went to. And I haven't looked back. I don't know why they're doing so poorly because I spend so much money through their online store. And then Athleta, which is owned by Gap Inc.
Wasn't I saying that wrong again? I think I did. We talked about this last time.
Yeah.
I always call it Athleta, but now...
Which makes sense, but I think it's Athleta.
It's Athleta.
Yeah.
How
But
can I not remember that?
they're like a slightly cheaper version of Lululemon, but The quality is excellent. That's where I buy my workout clothes.
Yeah, and that's a big trend right now.
And
too.
then Ann Taylor and Loft are another two of my favorites as well.
And Taylor, for some reason, they've really turned it around, I feel.
They have.
I
Their stuff
defected
is
from
good.
them
I
for
also,
years.
right, me too.
And now I've gone back and now I'm like, I really like this. And I've like been ordering online and in the stores.
Their online presence, though, their website, I think, has gotten a lot better over the years. Same with
Yes.
Lofts.
But you know what? I don't know. Maybe this is just me, but Ann Taylor does weird stuff with the shipping. Like, I feel like
Interesting.
some stuff comes right from like a local store, I want to say, and it comes in some weird shaped box, not normal. And then you order like 2 little shirts or something, and it comes in this massive, it's like 3 feet long. And I'm like, why is this? What is this?
Well, so
and I'm like, this is such a waste. So I feel like they haven't figured out the shipping thing, which is
No.
strange, but
So I used to work at Banana Republic, and we had they still have a ship from store department.
okay.
So if we get an online order through some channel from corporate, then if we have the product, we'll ship it from store. But if not, we pass the order on.
Okay, that's
And
what
it
happened.
goes, it like trickles down until if no stores have it in the area, it goes to a big warehouse.
Okay, so that's why. That's why it comes in weird shaped boxes
Yes.
too, because you literally look in like the back room, like, what will this fit in?
Yeah.
And then you just ship it in that.
Mhm.
Okay, this answers my questions, my burning retail questions. 'Cause I was. But I definitely do like Ann Taylor. Both the regular and the Loft is on trend for sure. But I am also a big fan of Ulta. Every time I go in there, I spend way more money than I think I do. I don't know why, but you just get sucked in and you're like, oh, I didn't think maybe I do need some sunscreen now. And then you're suddenly over there. And they don't even like approach you. Well, they do approach you in the aisles sometimes, but this is just your own wanderings and you end up buying
it's so
more.
compelling.
Yeah.
You aisle from aisle to aisle, you just think you need everything.
Right. So I'm a big fan of any of those beauty ones. Okay, this was a good discussion. So I think we've concluded that brick and mortar is not dead.
Not
No.
dead, for sure.
No.
No. Okay. So
It'll
down
stand
with
the
those
test of time.
naysayers. Okay. That's what I think too. Okay, good. We'll have you back again for who knows what else. Obviously, Greystone, we're going to have you back
Absolutely.
for sure. So if you want to know some tickers of these stocks that we talked about today, there is Macy's, which is struggling, but it's a ticker with M. J. Crew is private again, but I wonder if they'll go public. And don't want to mention revolveclothing.com, but they're also private. But we talked about Nordstrom. What's their ticker? I forget.
JWN.
Oh, yeah. It's always that weird thing I
Yeah.
can never figure out. Like, why is that? I don't know. Someone is strange there. We talked a lot about JCPenney, which is JCP. And then Athleta. There, I said it right, I think. That's owned by The Gap, and that is the best brand, I believe, that they have right now while they're turning around their other 3.
They're trying.
Yeah, trying to turn those other ones around. But you do get, I think, about a 5% dividend right now with The Gap. I don't know. Some people might be into that. To own Athleta is why I'd buy The Gap. And then Ann Taylor, that's still traded, right? Isn't that just Ann still? ANN, I believe it is. There's been some issues with them over the years that they might not survive, but they're still around. So there's a good pick of stocks. So you might want to check out some of those, some of the turnarounds, and some of the ones that maybe are doing a little bit better. And you can, of course, check out any of our articles. Maddie and myself have articles on Zax.com and our other podcasts. Of course, I think this is number 34. Check out the first podcast with Domina. That's a very good one on Greece. I highly recommend that one. You can find those on iTunes and on SoundCloud.com, and of course also on Zax.com. So until next time.